Good afternoon, good folks. Happy Monday to you. And yeah, I figured I'd go live because I thought this was an interesting conversation and I'd love to get your feedback and just get some good dialogue going. So, we're here talking about the leadership crisis. Yes, we've arrived at a place where there's a little bit of crisis dealing with leadership. And when I saw this article, I was like, oh, yeah, that sounds about right. I really wasn't surprised. So I'm going to share it in a bit. But I'm one of those people that got like 80 tabs open and all of them have meaning. So I will continue to have all of my tabs open. But what's kicking this off is that I saw an article in Black Enterprise magazine that really, I think, just brings to the forefront what we are experiencing and discussing anyway. So, really quick, I'm just going to go over this and then dive deep into my thoughts and what I think we need to do about it. So, the U.S. workforce is in a leadership crisis as workers avoid management. Again, I was not at all surprised by this, but I'm happy to see it in black and white because it gives us a foundation to have a discussion for it. So, a recent study has revealed that from Express Employment Services in partnership with the Harris Poll found that workers are no longer interested in supervisory or managerial roles. Okay, I can just tell you my perspective as a millennial before we get into the nuts and the bolts and the details and the numbers of the situation is just from personal experience. I had a boss who was an absolute delight, a joy, wonderful person and was working so hard and wore so many hats and was barely making more than I was. So if I'm looking at that, why give me more pennies on my paycheck, but then I have five times the work? The math ain't mathing for me to be more stressed out. And then you, the company or whoever, you're showing me this is how you reward people. Why do I want to be more stressed out if it's not going to move the needle for me in my personal life? That's my first thought at thinking about this. Also, I think about the fact that, and I've talked about this before, a lot of people have been moved into leadership roles and then they aren't equipped. It's like, okay, here you are, lead things. We're just going to give that to you. I don't know what this trend is lately with, oh, we're just going to throw you in there. Oh, you're just going to take charge. I'm hearing less and less conversations. I'm hearing less and less about preparing people and training people. A lot of companies are just throwing folks into the fire and being like, okay, well, you got it. I think it set people up for failure, honestly. But if I'm looking at that, if I'm not equipped, sure, I'm smart. I can figure some things out. But I also don't know where my landmines are. And then I can get blamed for stuff that maybe been due to my ignorance. So why would I want to step into a position where, oh, gosh, I could be set up to fail, where I could be in trouble for things, and then because I wasn't equipped, there was no training, there was no mentorship, etc. Okay, so let's get into the numbers. Of course, we're seeing this more so with the younger generations. We're seeing it with Gen Z. We're seeing it with millennials, but Gen Z specifically has said they would rather develop their individual expertise than manage employees. That says a lot because if you lack people skills, but let's be real, that's already happening in the workplace. Um, if you lack people skills, managing people is going to be a nightmare for you. And we know with Gen Z, they have less social or were less socially equipped. The older generations, just because of technology, their coming of age was COVID, all of the things. So I can understand why that might be overwhelming for them. The last thing I think that's the important piece to this puzzle, another leg on this stool, is that if the work environment is toxic, and I've seen this, I've worked with organizations and coached through this, If the work environment is toxic and then you move into a leadership role, you kind of become a scapegoat from the C suite. So now you're just the face of the toxicity, where you are just trying to relay things and it's probably not you and you're just trying to keep the peace with things. But now you are being perceived as the person that is perpetuating the toxicity. And people are like, I ain't got time for that. Some other key findings that came from this article is 80%, 86% of hiring managers believe that supervisors have the tools they need, but only a third offer training on critical skills. Okay, this is what I'm saying. Lots of assumptions of what people should have or what they need, blah, 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 all the things. But actual training is only 33% of that. 72% of hiring managers admit that their company should be doing more to support supervisors. Great. So who wants to lead and I don't have any support? Hello, quiet cracking. It's a perfect equation for that. And then nearly 3 in 4 Gen Z professionals say, like I said, that they want to develop their own piece. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing now. But that's basically where we are. So, what does this leadership crisis mean for leaders who want to promote people? You can't just throw them out there and not give them any support. So, that might mean before you promote someone or have discussions about what that looks like for that person. Because there's a lot of trepidation, there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and titles are no longer like the shiny thing that people are looking for at this point because it has more consequences than it does rewards. Think about it this way. When leadership becomes survival instead of service, because that's what it means to be a leader, then you're going to lose good people, or people will never raise their hand and say, I want to be promoted. No. And that goes into the whole quiet quitting thing. A lot of people are just holding on in survival mode, doing just enough to not get fired. So, leadership, promotion, heck no. Why would I want to do that? Or some people are already burned out where they are or what they're doing. So, that's in quiet cracking. And I just did a video on that. So, you can check that out as well. So if I'm already burned out and my nervous system is in survival mode, am I really prepared to lead? No, probably not. We have to come together as a workforce and as a culture across generations. I will shout this from the rooftops as long as I live. We need everybody. We need all perspectives. And for the older generations, my baby boomers, my Gen Xers, at some point you're going to want to pass the baton, right? Or maybe you need some more support. So you need to bring somebody up to your level or at least close to it. Wouldn't it be great if you could be the person that is shaping, molding, and cultivating that so that some of your influence is then coming back to you? It's kind of like getting an ROI on that. Okay, well, then you've got to carve out some time to make sure there's space. No matter how we feel about other generations, what you think they should be doing, that's not going to help you today. It's not. It's not going to help you today. We have to get to a point where we got to see things for what they are and think about what the impact is at the end of the day. Do you want to be more stressed out? Do you want to be the lone soldier leading things by yourself, overwhelmed and all of that? I'm assuming not. Projects things are a lot better when you have somebody else shouldering the burden with you, right? So we've got to extend our hands across the table. We got to extend an olive branch to make it very clear what matriculation in your company will look like. And I'm a millennial. Millennials, like, we ate promotion. Okay. We were like hyper fixated on being promoted. And now we're like, yep, I don't know if I need another thing on my already full plate, or else I'm going to crack. I'm not going to make it. But if it's clear, there's some steps where you can paint a picture for me that is not going to strangle my life and that is not going to create imbalance in the work life integration. If y'all remember that term, okay, cool. Then we can move forward with it. I also think what companies need to do is you've got to invest in leadership development. We can't just keep shucking people to different places and say, so long, good luck, you did good work, so that's just going to translate. Functional skills do not always translate into soft skills and leadership skills. So you've got to invest, even if it's just a time investment, real world training in that so we can increase our leadership pool. Normalizing mental health support. There are a lot of companies, and I love to see it, that have EAP programs. Great. We have to continue to create that and create some autonomy. I've seen other like little work groups that have been an outlet for people. So that's been a good help. Also, okay, nobody wants to hear this, but I'm going to say it. We've got to redefine leadership. Know who is on your team because that will tell you what a reward is for them. Part of that is going to be generational. Part of that is you've got to get some assessments, things that you can see data in black and white of how people function and what drives them into action. This is a lot of what I do with organizations where people have this sense of understanding that makes them drop their shoulders a little bit and see the other generation, or to see their subordinate as a person and a human being, then you can speak right to that thing. That really gives you a superpower when you have an understanding of what motivates certain people, because it's not going to be the same across the board, and it's not going to be the same as what motivates you. So you can't expect people to be moved by what you're moved by. That's where we start to have cracks in relationships and people start showing up less and doing less and all of the things. So whether that's DISC, which is a good foundation, emotional intelligence, driving forces, which is a really good place here, is helping to define what leadership is and what that leadership journey is. And then lastly, we got to empower people. It is what it is. I've heard some older generations say it's coddling. It's not coddling, but just like you probably needed encouragement in your younger days, or especially when the world and the economy is melting around us, keep that in mind. So give people a space to be authentic, to maybe just be open and to just talk. Give a platform for that, because then you can gather some information there. Ultimately, when I see this article, again, I'm not surprised, but that's telling me that we leadership and is evolving. I have said it before. With the entrance of so many younger generations in the workplace, we are pressing up against all of the norms, whether you like it or not. And this article just proves here we are. So we've got to do something different, because what a tragedy it would be to have professionals with such great potential and great skills that could support you and your organization hide from it because of what's going on. I think with just a few tweaks, we can turn around these things that we're seeing in this article. But the future of leadership, it depends on collaboration and emotionally intelligent leaders, people that both can perform but can also care, and that could also be peopling. We need that. So don't be disillusioned, but take this in. I'm just saying, take a different approach. And that's it. If you have any questions, or honestly, I just want to hear from you. Are you one of those people that are like, no, absolutely not? I am not. I have no interest in leadership. I'd love to hear from you. Put it in the comments. Let us know why. Or if you're leading people and you're trying to get more folks on board, if you're encountering resistance, let us know that too. And yeah, check out my other videos on quiet cracking. Check out my website. If you need some business support, or even if you are a leader that is stuck and you need to get out of stagnation and get paid and promoted what you're worth, then definitely check out my website and we can work together to get you out of this phase. Because when you are at the top of your game from the inside out, your purpose, your gifts, your talents, I mean, you can command anything, despite what the economy is doing. All right. Well, thank you for hanging with me, and I will check y'all in the next video.